Hey guys, Max is here with the 13th video in our Platinum Climb self-coaching series. It's going to be on Dorado. I believe we start on attack, and I'm going to be playing as main healer, particularly on Mercy. And this one's going to be kind of interesting, at least for my perspective, because although when I first started the game, playing the game, my first pick was Mercy and a little bit of Zenyatta. It has been a long time since I've played her competitively, at the time of this match at least. Since then, I actually haven't played her much competitively either, so it's actually a very Blue Moon sort of situation where everything lined up. We had the right tanks, right supports, and right DPS for me to go Mercy, and it turns out working out pretty well. So I'm gonna try and see what I did wrong as far as like what I do recall about how to be a Mercy, and I'll also see if I can't point out a couple things that people should do in order to help their Mercies. So let's get into it.
Prepare to attack.
At first I was intending to go Baptiste, but we have here, as you could see there, we have D.Va, Winston, Genji, and Hanzo. So particularly the Genji, D.Va, and the Winston, were the main picks that I maybe decided it was a good idea to be Mercy. Plus I just got the Atlantic All-Star skin. As of course, Zenyatta is also a very good pick for dive. Understandably, he's not able to reach the dive area as much, but his orb can follow, and he can also essentially choose and direct his team based on where he puts his discords. Anyway, let's get back to it.
Lofi.
Here we go. So I'm gonna try and stay high ground with our D.Va first off, so that I'm not really in the line of fire. But with that Torbjorn right there, I was actually losing or risking getting killed, so I moved out of there. Now I'm just staying behind the physical cover, because the main thing to note about this composition is we didn't have a shield, and I couldn't really rely on that to save me. This was a bad a bad Guardian Angel. I almost got myself killed there. I'm prioritizing healing Zenyatta, of course, because his Discord is basically the pinnacle of what we're doing. Went deep to get the Genji, not a good idea, but it turns out okay. Looks like I could have tried healing D.Va there, although that so she ended up getting popped there when I could have tried saving her a little bit. But by the time I saw it on my screen, it was already late enough that she'd already basically popped. I couldn't have saved it. But in the future, that was probably the one thing I would have changed about that fight. Resin Genji's okay. He was pushing ahead, which he's supposed to be, but he was also a little bit in the feeding side.
Right side, D.Va, if you can focus him.
Yep, on him.
We're going to jump into the fray in order to heal my teammates. It's not a very good idea. I think I need to change my sensitivity as far as my healing goes. I tend to keep my Guardian Angel sensitivity at the same level as my beam sensitivity, so that I can use the target parameter to tell where it is. I use it to tell me both when I'm aiming at the beam and when I'm aiming with the Guardian Angel. And as you might be able to tell, I do have the beam connection priority for Guardian Angel turned off. If I'm playing something like if I'm playing Pharmacy, I want to have that beam target priority on, so that I don't have to focus, like stare at the bar for the whole time. But if I'm in a team, I want to be able to jump between people without changing which person I'm healing. As far as this goes, I really haven't done much, but just top people off as we go. After we won the first push, we just kind of snowballed them through here. I did use Guardian Angel. I try to use it kind of as a mini Arisa Bongo or supercharger. Healing is nice with it, especially since it does 70 per second, but it's not too important in my opinion to heal unless you literally pop it to save your team. It's almost better to use it as a supercharger sort of deal. It was an okay bomb. Knowing how this fight goes, I know that it doesn't turn out doing any good for us. So hindsight's 2020. I know we're actually burning a lot of more ults than we need to be right now, but it's all right. We end up coming out okay and surviving.
Can you get into the tunnel, Diva?
Oh, sorry, I can get out.
Yeah, we're down in the tunnel. Can you get into there?
Not quite. Not anymore.
So we got trapped out here, the two tanks along with myself. Fortunately, I had the beam priority turned off, so I could come over here while still healing Winston. I ended up popping Guardian, which I would say it wasn't really a good time, except for the fact that I used Guardian to bring him back now. Sorry, not Guardian, Angel, Valkyrie. And couldn't save either of them from the hammer down. That was mostly just because I wasn't in the right position for it. Now we're playing Winston Diva into Reinhardt, so we have to be very mindful. Had to be very mindful of shadows, but it looks like our Winston decided that it would be a good idea to switch to Reinhardt in order to counter. And then our Diva says she's going to switch to Zarya, so that's also going to be pretty good. And I really needed to be healed there, but the Zen wasn't focused on me. He was not on fire himself, but I think that actually kind of staggered our next push, and nobody came to nobody peeked me to see it to get me back faster, which ended up getting our Zenyatta killed. But I think no, I'm not gonna res him. I didn't have it on off cooldown at the time, and then I forgot about it once it was off cooldown.
Diva, can you move closer to your Rhine? I can't heal you where you're at.
I'm getting med pack.
Alright.
Looks like our Zenyatta decided to go Lucio to get back faster, which is an okay move. It was he was useful, more useful as Lucio in my opinion.
Rissa.
Diva could have eaten that. It would have been very useful to not have the field covered in lava, especially since we're all gonna basically end up dying here because of it. And if I'm not mistaken, we don't get a second take. Now I'm more nitpicking on the Diva right now, but that's because I'm more of a Diva main than I am a Mercy main. As far as my own movement, I should have probably tried staying up near the Widow and just walked along the rooftop there to heal them, so that I wouldn't have put myself particularly in the line of fire. I think at this point though I end up muting myself accidentally. As you can see in the top left corner, I'm using mute, not push to talk. So, which I'm used to using push to talk, so I muted myself at some point, and I don't think I ever unmuted myself, and it's unfortunate. So any of the callouts, like you can hear me in the background, they can't hear me.
Very low.
They got two barriers right now. Is there anything we can
Punchable.
Get through these?
Yeah, I called for a switch because and here I called the Zarya to bubble me, but she didn't because I was muted. But at that point, I asked them to if we could switch to barrier count and barrier breakers because they have their tanks are Risa and Reinhardt, which is unfortunate for us. We aren't able to really. They outlast us in a sustain here. But personally, as Mercy, I really didn't have much I could do about it. All I could do was try and survive. It was not really smart of me to go pistoling in there. We were already pretty in a bad spot without me switching from healing. So after that next round, I choose not to go Mercy again. Instead I choose Baptiste. Now, mainly, I use Baptiste as a hybrid. He is a main healer. He does 60 points per second splash healing, so he can comparatively heal. I mean, he can heal comparatively to Anna and Moira if the occasion requires it. Not to mention, he is more long range. I would have had to get closer if I were anything other than an Ana in this situation to heal the D.Va.
Bringing Ryan to shield.
Which, while that would be kind of okay with the Mercy Guardian Angeling over there, Moira couldn't reach her, and neither could any, like Lucio would have to. Would be a second off healer, so it wouldn't have been ideal.
Get the middle choke with Risa.
Nice rotation from our team. Nice rotation call out, I should say. Wasn't a very fluid rotation, but it worked. A couple of our teammates kept leaving the line of sight for our healers. There wasn't much we could do on that as far as like we had to stay with the team. But yeah. So we weren't like, I think Dose was his name. Our Doomfist ended up dying there, and then while we were focusing on this, I ended up letting our Arisa die. So I should have been focusing on her rather than on killing the Reinhardt, because he was just temporary. He was in our back line, but he's not really doing anything, and we actually have to sustain this as a fight on our own without our Arisa, because I failed to heal her.
Got the stabilized.
Now, the reason I ask about the stabilizing there is basically to point out that we don't need any more ultimates. It's good to know when we're stabilized and when we're still dealing with like a straggling fight, a trickling fight basically, or when we are the ones retaking. Have we retaken, or are we losing it? That's the sort of reason why I ask stuff like that. It's mostly to try and get everybody on the same page. Stylosa of Unit Lost will often ask in his coaching videos, what's the plan? For myself, having a plan isn't so important so much as asking for a plan. And that's more or less just to get everybody on the same page. Like, you don't have to always have an answer. Just ask somebody to try giving one, and then that opens up the discussion for what is our plan of action. Are we gonna defend high ground? Are we gonna defend choke? At this point right now, we've actually got a Bastion, which I believe it was the Doomfist Dose. He switched to Bastion, and we end up setting up mostly defending cart, because he sets up right on the cart at first. And it works out pretty well, but it's just like it's just inferred that we're going to do that. We don't actually communicate that within ourselves as a team, which is something that would be really nice to do. Now, I used my ultimate earlier. It's not a big deal for It's one of the best ultimates to use first in a fight, to initiate a fight, or to when you see the opportunity to tip something one way or another, it is it's one of the best ones to use because it's fast, it's easy, it's it's easily regained without too much effort, so it doesn't have the same weight to it as, say, using a grab does, and yet it can do a substantial amount of damage. As you can see, I just got it all over again. It's been, I think, about 25 seconds, half a minute into the match. Most everybody else who's used their ultimates haven't gotten on back. Now here I tossed down my mortality. There was a problem with those. He kept not knowing or not trusting his supports to have him, and I mean, this was back when Baptiste was very new. I was one of the first people, like, not the first people, obviously the moment we entered Overwatch League, people started using them and whatnot, but being a healer main, or, I mean, technically I'm a flex main, but I try and heal a lot consistently. I was really excited for the new healer, so I tried learning Baptiste very early on. And so this was probably like 3 days after he was added to competitive. But there our Bastion just fed. He was not, I don't think he was in voice chat, so we were having to work around him a lot, and especially in that sort of situation, it did not work well. Also, as Baptiste, you can't jump from the street to the top of the church. You have to get onto one of the higher plazas. Like right here, you'd be able to jump up there, and I think I actually do. And this is just Soldier and Baptiste both have certain survivability against nice prediction there. Yeah, the Soldier and Baptiste both have they're similar in design, but what I'm getting at is that if, for example, the D.Va there was just shooting down on top of us uncontested, and we needed to get her off. So it was perfectly okay for me to go up there on my own and just shoot her a couple times, and then the moment she starts to invest cooldowns like jets or her rockets, I just bugger on out of there. Yeah, I was kind of like hounding him for healing there. He was already healing me. It was my own deal about not. I was just standing out in the open there. I was just asking to be killed. Always keep an eye on your off healers health. Once again, just trying to get everybody on the same page. He said Junkrat's moving around to jump up here, and I ended up finding D.Va instead. And I asked for a location on Torbjorn so that we can take him out because he took out a Bastion. I used my Immortality Field there just so that I could sustain that fight a little bit, but it was a bad idea and ended up costing myself and the Junkrat. Or actually, I think that was the Zenyatta. Yeah. So that was a misuse of my Immortality Field. A lot of times you can do something like that where you initiate, but that time it was not the right move. Good call on backing up rather than fighting up front. We could have very easily just gotten staggered there, and they could have snowballed the rest of the point if we hadn't pulled back, because it was just me and the Zenyatta there. while it is nice to use Supercharger and the Amplification Matrix simultaneously to just put out a massive
Ryan's
amount
one
of
tap to your
damage,
right, Hanzo, to your right.
it's not
Hanzo
necessary
behind you,
usually.
Reinhardt. No, he didn't get the med. I took the med.
Nice, thank you.
So that's why I didn't use it there. It's like the team was already boosted by our Orisa, and now I basically, by saving my ultimate there and not just like an overkill annihilating
Left side,
them,
top left side, somebody's
I
going top.
can guarantee that we still have
Jog on
it
left, top
later
left.
when we need it to swing another fight, because we still have 10 seconds. They still
Jug's down.
have the chance to contest.
Need the...
But it looks like we had held most of our ultimates for that. Let me just double check. Did the Reinhardt use his... Yeah, he shattered right before I landed, so I'm lucky that I managed to heal the Zen there, because I think he went critical twice. Yeah, we're gonna maintain this because the we had better ultimate control, essentially. Or fired off more ults at once, would be more accurate.
Good job, guys.
GG.
Alright, so that's it for this one, and I think I'm going to be posting a total of 3 today, so look forward to those. After that, there should only be one left before I start posting new videos. If you've already seen these ones on the Platinum Climb, I'm also going to be deleting the Platinum Climb, and then once a week until I'm caught up with everything, I'm going to be trying to make a highlight reel. And with that highlight reel, it's gonna be a lot of 3v3, but it's gonna also be like any other competitive matches after I hit platinum, or anything else like that I've got around here.